the world has significantly changed in the last 16 months, right? Like, did you ever know what an HS code was before this last little while?
Uh,
Right?
I,
If you're shipping internationally, by the way, you need to know what an HS code is. It's the tariff code for any product, and you need to know what the country of origin of that product is. Tariffs are different between China, Canada, and the United States. So these things are now things that we have to start thinking about from a data standpoint, and they're things that we didn't care about 6 months ago.
Hi, it's Adam Freeman at Comic Industry Insiders Live. And this week is post San Diego week, which means everybody is home and recuperating, or you got so much done last week because everybody was in San Diego and leaving you alone. We have a special rebroadcast this week. We, on our live show, Comic Industry Insiders Live, a few weeks back, I went through a case study of a project that we are working on for Recca Publishing. Specifically, The Future Is. We had a little incident that we had to deal with, and we thought it would be interesting to break down all of the components of a program like this, of a campaign like this that kind of goes awry on you, and how did we react to that, and how others reacted to our reaction. We get really deep in the weeds, and we do show our math, show the numbers, right? We show the math, whatever. We're really proud of this particular episode of the live show, so we thought we'd rebroadcast. We are working on rebroadcasting the live show through our audio channels, but we're not quite there yet. So wanted to make sure you heard this one. All right, without further ado, friends and neighbors, The Future Is.
I got to tell you, this week, everything's a little bit up in the air. You can see I'm surrounded by boxes and I'm moving. So I am thankfully going to bring in my good friend, Mr. Brian Garside, who will take has 0 boxes behind him. I don't know how do you do that? How do you live in a box-free life? That's such a strange existence.
If it's any consolation at all, the warehouse right now is so overrunning with boxes that I don't know that I'm ever going to be able to unbox the thing. So yeah. new set, Django from Comic Shop Assistants.
Yes. Thank you, Django. Yes, we are currently in the process of moving the Prana headquarters, aka my home, to a undisclosed location in Long Island. And so everything is up in the air. There's construction right now. If I was in the normal set, you would hear banging. So it's really wonderful. I cannot tell you how much I'm enjoying this part of my life, Brian. Yeah,
that's amazing. Yeah, it's I keep describing this particular time in my life as if everything is on fire at the same time, and I'm also drowning. So it's
right.
Like it's that St. Elmo's fire stuff, I guess, that
it's
burns
exactly
underwater.
That is exactly how it feels right this second. I can tell you, and it's all, as you like to say, like, it's just a life full of good problems, but good problems are still problems.
Yeah,
gotta be
good
dealt
problems to have, still problems.
Yeah. Anyway, all right. So let's end this old man bitching hour, and
old men ranting.
What are we talking about this week? Because I seem to remember we had a meeting where we were discussing what we were going to talk about, and and at some point,
well, I think this week we're going to talk about the main kind of topic that was in your newsletter this week, which was circles and corners. I think before that, we're going to jump onto just a little bit of news, because I know you've got a piece of news that you really want to share, and then we'll get into circles and corners, and we're going to talk a little bit about retailers aren't a monolith. They are a spectrum. And so we're going to talk about that, because when people talk about the retailer community, it's like it's not really a community. It's like 100 different communities, maybe
True.
2,800 different communities. But there's
Oh,
commonalities there, but they're also all very unique, and yeah, all the good and bad that comes along with that.
there's got to be at least 118 different Facebook groups alone, right? That's for
Yeah,
comics retailers. Yeah.
easily. Yeah.
And I will say that later in this hour, we're going to reveal the details of the program that I did for Recca Comics for this book, The Future Is. So we're going to give you, I mean, some an unprecedented behind the scenes look at sales, at what their strategies were, what some of our pivots were. We really did try and set up just almost like a complete, I don't even know what the word I'm looking for is. I'm sure it's in my presentation, but it's been that kind of week, kids.
I hear you, brother. I hear you. Man, the number of just normal words that have just escaped my vocabulary in the last like 2 weeks is just, yeah, I think there's too much up there.
Case study.
Too much up
There you
there.
go. We're going to be doing a case
study.
study for The Future Is. So, but before we get into that, Brian, did we starting with headlines? Where are we at? So this week, Sparkle Pop, which is the crew that is Ad Populum, they filed a complaint against Alliance Entertainment for stealing trade secrets. Why is this interesting? Well, inside of this statement, inside of this complaint, you see them talking about the loss of some of essentially Alliance poaching the staff that they did and taking some of the information that they got from being the highest bidder and was were going to be the purchaser, taking that with them to essentially create more competition for this company. So they put themselves into a position where they had access to this information of a company, this proprietary information, and now using it to compete against this company. Now, these lawsuits have gone back and forth for a little while, but this one is, I will say, I think this is from Heidi. This one, I did not see this coming. This one is a bit of a shocker, is that these companies are now sniping against each other for space that we don't know who is going to actually live inside of what, right? We still don't know, is Ad Populum going to be the distributor of all of those relationships that Diamond had with their single issue publishers, or even their other publishers and other vendors, or is that going over to Universal?
Right.
Seemingly, it's seemingly Universal is going to be taking a lot of that over, but Ad Populum is the buyer of record, and now Sparkle Pop on its behalf. So it's really fascinating to watch this play out, because man, this story just never dies.
Yeah, it's crazy. I mean, this all kind of stems from let me just remove Kyle here. This kind of stems from the story from, I guess, is that
Yeah,
like 8 days ago? So a week
yeah,
ago? I think we
we
talked a little bit about
reported on
this.
this last week, actually, I believe. Yeah.
Yeah, so Alliance hired 7 people from Diamond, which included VP of Sales Mike Schimmel, Ryan Sheckett, VP of Purchasing. So building a team, you can see like product manager, buyer, product manager, buyer. So yeah, this was a big group of folks who all had quite a bit of tenure too.
Oh yeah,
Uh,
Mike Schimmel. I mean, specifically, he's been in that role in the sales department. I mean, as long as I've been in comics. So
96, yeah. Yeah,
that's,
and Joe Lundy, 98.
phew. Yeah. So these people they know their stuff, and it should be noted that when you are in that position, your value is your relationships, your value is your experience and your ability, and
Absolutely.
it's hard to really, if you've only ever been in, say, retail, or you've only ever been in publishing, it's hard to understand the depth of those relationships and how much you can get done and how quickly, just
Yeah.
by picking up a phone, right? As someone who is often paid for those kinds of relationships, I can tell you that having that sort of deep knowledge that Schimmel has and that rest of that crew, there's a reason that that is scary that they would
Yep.
be poached like that, right?
Yep.
So it's a fascinating twist. It's still,
Well,
it's still
and
going
on
on.
top of that, like the institutional knowledge that all these folks have of how things get done. I know from a brand manager standpoint, like we're down to a couple people, right? Like I know I think as of last week, Stuart Schreck was still there.
Yep.
But like there's not a lot of folks around him anymore. And that's the kind of stuff where the data starts to fall apart. And that's
Yeah.
pretty bad. But on top of that, it becomes harder and harder for solicits to get in, the whole 9 yards. So losing that kind of stuff is not great. There's a lot of folks kind of on the wind right now, though, as well. Like that first round of layoffs, there were some really, really good people in there that could go back to Diamond or wherever they end up, are going to make a difference. So
Well, and we're also seeing some of the people that have moved over to Universal were some of the people who knew where all the switches are and all. I know that there is some conversation back and forth between the crew because there just has to be, right?
Yep.
And we all talk to each other all the time, but there's not like it has not been a easy transition. I will say that especially for Diamond, who has become sort of the people have viewed as the utility of data and the utility of comics, right? They are like the power company of comics.
Absolutely.
That because of that, we're going to see a big hole. We're going to start seeing things fall through the cracks.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because people did
I
not
mean,
care.
the whole reason that we built Comet was because there was a way that things were always done, which was how Diamond did them. And when you brought on new distributors who didn't do things the Diamond way, it caused a whole bunch of problems. And they weren't bad problems; they were great problems to have, and I'm glad that we solved them all.
Yeah.
But they were, like I always say, there were still problems, right? And they had to be solved. I'm super glad that we did solve them like 2 years ago. And there's a whole new set of problems that have come on. I don't want to get too in the weeds on Comet, but like the world has significantly changed in the last 16 months, right? Like, did you ever know what an HS code was before this last little while? Right? If you're shipping internationally, by the way, you need to know what an HS code is. It's the tariff code for any product, and you need to know what the country of origin of that product is. Tariffs are different between China, Canada, and the United States. So these things are now things that we have to start thinking about from a data standpoint, and they're things that we didn't care about 6 months ago.
Yeah.
So yeah, the world is changing, and at the same time, the industry is changing, and everything is on fire. So it's good times, really great times. Can't recommend it enough.
I think this timeline, man, just chef's kiss. This timeline is killing it.
Yeah,
It's
yeah,
such
we
good work.
really, yeah. I refer to it as the dumbest timeline almost every day.
Ah.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Well, on that note, why don't we? Do you have anything to present that would have a tease or anything? No, that's cool. That's cool. That's cool. I can do this. Before we dive into our stuff, talk to me a little bit about this.
Oh, hey.
What should people be doing?
Once again, so once a week, we at Prana, we put together a newsletter. I will tell you, arguably a little better put, usually more better. Good Lord. It's usually a little better put it together than today's show. Our newsletter goes out to to industry professionals of all kinds inside the comics industry. We give a rundown of all of the big stories of the week. We report on our sales information, which we did last week. You can see all of the May sales data that we get from our POS partners like Managed Comics. And honestly, it's just a nice little nugget to get you into the weekend, get you a bit more data about what happened in the comics industry that week. So if you go to pranadm.com and hit the newsletter button, monthly newsletter, sign up right there. Yeah. Thank you, Django. It's mine too, buddy. It's mine too. Listen, if you are around, you should definitely jump in, because this is going to be one of those shows. It's going to be kind of an Ask Me Anything. The wheels are falling off of this wagon, baby.
I think
Anyway,
the wheels are fine. I think you're over focusing on the wheels, and when you
think
focus
so?
on the wheels as much as you are, they're gonna fall off. You just gotta. Namaste, baby.
PlanetDM.com.
You gotta just
Sign up. We'll get you there.
I agree with Tommy. This needs more apple juice. We need a little Murphy's. I'll see if I can hook us up with a Murphy's ad before the end of this episode.
Where's my ukulele? Okay.
Do we want to talk the circles?
Let's talk about circles.
Talk the circles. All right.
So the circles. I'm actually getting warm. This is what I'm talking about. So this metaphor that I covered in this last week's newsletter. When you're flying over the US, which many of us in the comics industry do a lot, we go to a lot of conventions, and so we're on airplanes. When you're flying over, you can look out over the fields and you see shapes, right? You see squares and circles. These squares are farmland, right? They are land where crops are being raised. And knowing this, as you're flying over, you might look at them and say, well, why are they cut into squares? And then inside of those squares are circles, the circles being where the green is growing, where the crops are growing. And the answer to that question, as someone who wondered about that, is something called center point irrigation, which basically means that it is cheaper for the farmer to run irrigation to the middle of that square and have a sprinkler, as it were, rotating around and sending water to a circle inside of that square. You don't want to overlap, because then you're overwatering certain pieces. You definitely want to stay inside of that square. Now, why, if you are a farmer, are you not watering the corners? You're missing out on those corners. And that's true, but the truth is, the matter is that it is more efficient, meaning they will get more yield per acre by using this center point irrigation. What about the corners, though? What about the crops in those corners? And I swear to God, this is about comics. I know that I'm maybe even belaboring this a moment, but those corners, there are still things that grow there. Right? There are still crops, there are still plants that survive in those corners. They are the hardiest of them. They are the strongest of them. But in many cases, those crops would not do as well inside the circle. They need to be out in the corners. Where this lands us is, as a marketer, somebody working in comics, somebody who has to deal with a lot of different markets. And specifically, I've spent most of my life working inside of the comics retailer market, the direct market. I will say that there, okay, great. I will tell you that the corners are really where a lot of retailers live. We talk to, currently the direct market runs somewhere between 2,800 and 4,000 stores worldwide. And you ask them all the same question, and you're going to get probably just that many answers. We make this joke a lot, that if you want 20 opinions, all you have to do is ask 12 retailers. So anytime somebody asks you, somebody who doesn't understand how this world works, when they ask you, well, what do comics retailers think? The answer, if you know what you're doing, is there is no answer. There is no standard. What we can do is we can tell you what happens in the circle. I cannot tell you what's going to happen in the corners. And depending on if you are Marvel, if you are DC, if you are Image, you get a circle that goes right out to the edge of that square. But for most of us who don't have that kind of big irrigation, to belabor the metaphor, for most of us, we cover a much smaller circle inside of that square and still see success, because the model for publishing is not about getting into the hands of every comics retailer and every comics fan. The model for small independent publishing is using the direct market, using the other markets to create a brand. And that brand creates licensing, and that licensing is often where the profit is made. So all of this to say, there was a whole lot of that has been happening inside of comics, and then we're going to talk quite a bit about that during my presentation for TFI, where comics retailers often feel like they're not heard. They feel like people are doing things to them instead of with them. They feel like they are nobody. I've often been accused of not having spoken to retailers before making a decision, which, I mean, honestly, there has not been I don't think there's been a day in my professional life where I haven't talked to comic book retailers. So I don't know how that's possible. But I will say that they do feel misunderstood, and many of them are because they are in the corners, right? The majority of comics retail shops, if they order any independent press, it's usually 1 or 2 copies, as much as 3. We're going to get into some of the metrics of how we measure that. But yeah. It was that conversation that brought this along.
Yeah, absolutely. Do we want to talk to a retailer who I know is in that circle?
Sure.
I think we can bring in my friend and yours, Django Boren.
Oh,
hey guys!
To drop in. Hey, fellas.
I get to be on my favorite episode of this podcast.
Oh man,
Look at you.
Thank you, buddy. Thank you. I hope you can put some wheels on this wagon.
No, that's not. That is not what I'm here for, Adam.
This thing is saving
Yeah, Django is decidedly anti-wheel.
I'm gonna take the front wheels and put them on the back here.
Yeah, that's how he rolls. So when you does this metaphor ring for you at all?
I really like this metaphor. I saw you posted something about this on social media earlier this week, Adam, and without really reading any more than just the description of why we have circles instead of squares. The thing it made me think of is how when someone who doesn't understand all the nuance of a process or an industry looks at it, it doesn't make sense, right? And for me, the thing I thought of without reading past the first paragraph was how angry it makes us that we get tons of different boxes from Penguin, or like there's a handful of distribution things that retailers are mystified by and angry about. But my guess is that there's a really good reason. They're not dumb. They're shipping a bunch of boxes because it's cheaper than trying to consolidate them. And just kind of stepping back and realizing that the people who are experts in their area are probably doing the smart thing for a reason, even if it doesn't look smart to you from the outside. That was where my brain went when you use that metaphor.
It's very true, and I think that's part of what we're hoping to address this week, especially in the case study that we're going to do for TFI. Is we had a promotion that we had in place that didn't quite work the way we thought it was going to. We had a logistical issue that definitely didn't work the way we thought it was going to, and we pivoted. But that pivot may had some people feeling like they were ignored or they were put upon, right?
Yeah.
And I think you're right. I think one of the reasons that I love doing Comic Industry Insiders, and one of the reasons I love doing the live show, is that we get a chance to demystify that, right? We get a chance to ask why.
Yeah.
And you don't always get a chance to ask why. And honestly, sometimes it's just none of your business why.
Yeah.
Right? I mean, that's the real, it's a difficult piece to hear. It just wasn't for you.
Yeah. Trust me, I'm doing what I need to do.
Yeah. Exactly. Yeah. There was a good reason for this. I didn't just do it to torture you.
Right. I didn't think about you at all. Well, that's probably meaner than you'd ever want to admit. But
and the other part about the corners is that very similar to that, like not everything is going to be for those folks in the corners. And that's okay. Right. Like we we as a society have developed this weird obsession that everything has to be for everybody all the time. And if it's not, a fatwa on both your houses. Um, it's perfectly okay for Ultimate X-Men to exist. I have absolutely zero interest in Ultimate X-Men by Peach Momoko, but I am so incredibly glad that it exists. I think that it hits a part of the market that nothing else out there does, and it's the only comic that I get every month that my daughter actually goes, "Oh, I'm going to read this." Right?
Yeah.
And she won't do that with anything else. And it's super important that that exists. The other side of that is people say, this exists, I hate it, and it shouldn't exist. And that's just like, there's room for peanut butter and vanilla and chocolate. It's all okay.
Jason
You can
Bourne
put it
and
on
Mission
the table,
Impossible.
right? Yeah,
Exactly.
exactly. Yeah.
Well,
So
also, I will say that another piece of that is what it has become media, right? It is
Yeah.
what media has become. It is what news has become. It is what our existence is. The moment that we interconnected the entire world, we were able to choose our own reality. We were able to
Exactly.
choose exactly what media we're going to take in. We were able to choose what music we wanted to listen to in a way that never before. We were able to choose to just watch movies all the time, which you and I mean, we're all in the same generation. Like the idea that I could just watch Indiana Jones anytime I wanted to, that would be mind blowing as a child, right?
Yeah.
So what I'm saying is that we've gotten to a place now where we have access to everything all the time. So therefore, none of us is having the same existence. We're not all watching Friends on Thursday nights anymore.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
We're all choosing it. And even when we have access to the same set, right, my Netflix queue is going to look very different than your Netflix queue.
Yeah.
Right. If you listen to my liked songs on Spotify, you might get angry with me for not using Apple Music, one, and two, you are definitely going to have a completely different algorithm and playlist than I am. And we're in the same generation. We're three white dudes in our
Oh, I'll bet you the three
in
of
our
us would
balding
have
eras.
entirely different. Yeah.
Exactly.
Absolutely.
I mean, I know this because Brian says, "Hey, I'm going to this show," and he's really excited. I'm like, "Who is that?"
Yeah, you both were like that.
So yeah, I will say that, and I mean, we're talking about people who are very close in age and very close in our experiences in the world, and yet we don't even have these kind of basic cultural touchstones. So as a result of that, as a marketer, there's no way for me to hit all three of us.
Yeah.
Right? If I'm selling music, forget it. It's just not going to happen. All I can do is focus on Brian.
Yeah.
And in doing so, I'm leaving the corners uncovered.
Mhm.
And that's okay. Right?
Yeah. 100%. Yeah.
So,
yeah. And I mean, sometimes your thing is going to be very, very niche specific to a certain corner. I think the future is a perfect example of something that has niche appeal that is a lot more mainstream than a lot of people are actually taking into consideration. And I think we've talked about like demographics and stuff like that of security professionals. So my store, Earth 519, has a number of like internet people. So if I ever accidentally send out an email and don't BCC every single person, I get 6 emails from 6 people. I love them to death, but it's a lot, and they're just saying like, just be careful. I took a picture of like my really, really cool, I showed that thing to you last night, Django, my new like poly mailers. So I took a picture and I put a sticky note over top of the address. And one of my dudes emailed me after he saw that on social media and said, you should probably take that down because you can see the tracking number. And if you know the tracking number, you can figure out where that's going. And then you know the person's house. And I was like, damn it.
The person has a house?
You're right. But yeah, I mean, like those guys are all subscribed to the Future Is. And they don't have huge lists, but they love this stuff. And a couple of them have subscribed to 3 copies of it because they're going to share it around with their friends. So yeah, this is,
I like those guys. I like those guys a
right?
lot.
Yeah.
Well, excellent. Well, this might be, I think because we've said the name 3 times now, I feel like that invokes this presentation. Give me just a second here to pull it up.
Guys, I have a meeting I'm going to
Yeah.
keep watching until my meeting,
look
but
at
I
you.
can't.
Django.
I
So
can't keep
important.
moving wheels around on this thing.
I'm Django Rein's. I'm super important. Thanks, Django. Thanks for
Thanks,
coming
guys.
by.
See you in the
See ya. Yeah, so let's talk your presentation.
All right.
You're
let's
gonna like
do it.
unfurl the
I am opening
damage?
the kimono, as the really problematic old guys used to say.
Okay.
All right.
Let's see
So
it.
let's begin. Let's actually go. Can you, Producer Kyle? Can you give me
I
a?
think we gotta yeah,
There we
I've
go. It's in the
messed things
background
up
now.
for
Oh, yeah, not bad. Oh, there you go. Okay.
we can do
So
this one.
obviously, I work with a company. My company is Prana Direct Market Solutions. We work with a number of different publishers. We worked with Recca Publishing to bring you The Future Is, and they legitimately asked me to present a case study to anybody who would be interested in these kinds of things, and asked for legitimately 100% operational and financial transparency. The reason for this is that as a company, Black Hills Information Security, who owns Recca Publishing, really truly believe in sharing information and making everybody stronger as a result, and having a stronger industry of comics. It is called Recca Comics, and it is pronounced just that way. We are distributed through Lunar Distribution. You can order now if you have a Lunar account. And if you're a comics retailer and you don't have a Lunar account, let's have you on the show. I'd love to hear why. That's a really
I
interesting
don't know
idea.
what in the world you're selling at this point if you don't have a Lunar account.
I don't know how you're even keeping the doors open. Founded by John Strand, the owner of Black Hills Information Security. They do penetration testing for Fortune 100 and world government. Fortune 100 companies and world governments, among many, many others. Penetration testing is where you go in and look at the security of an organization and say, how do we find the holes in there? And legitimately break into buildings. There's this really crazy story where John Strand broke into a government facility. It's incredible. They created Backdoors and Breaches, this collectible card game that teaches how cybersecurity works. And they train 10,000 plus professionals every year through their Pay What You Can site that allows you to learn all of the skills that you need in order to be a cybersecurity professional. They have over 100,000 community members on their mailing list. They have conferences, hacker conferences in Deadwood, South Dakota. Super fun. Recommend it. Denver, Colorado, Washington, D.C. On YouTube, they're looking at almost 66,000 subscribers, 123,000 followers on LinkedIn. We began working on this in February 2023 for Recca Comics. And the mission was to bring cybersecurity to comics and comics to cybersecurity. And we legitimately tried to do both. Now, the reason all this started was this man right here on the left, Mr. Jason Blanchard. He and his partner, Aaron Holland, had a place called A Comic Shop in Florida. Aaron, congratulations on opening Ultimate Comics down in Florida. Really looking forward to seeing it someday. Anyway, around 2009, I met these guys at I think it was a Diamond Summit, and they were presenting on why you should use social media to promote your comic shop. And I thought they were full of shit until I listened to the promotion and went, oh yeah, I guess they are right. So John Strand, the owner of this company that now employs Jason to market their stuff, his two rules for Recca Comics were: we have to make great comics, and the reader is the hero of the story. Now, we do that through a number of things. We're going to cover those in just a minute. Early experiments, though, they started doing these prompt zines where they would essentially, like any good zine, give you a whole bunch of information and then little comics that they put inside of them. And then later they did Bear versus Bear, which is this cartoony zine thing that has a red bear versus a blue bear, because they have red teams, which are trying to penetrate, and blue teams, which are trying to secure your information. Bear versus Bear was done by Joe Keating and Rob Guillory of Chew fame. And then later, as we came in, we did a Kickstarter with them that was incredibly successful. We raised $72,000, which is unlikely for an independent comics publisher. But we were able to do that because of this incredibly deep well of cybersecurity professionals who were supporting this project. So here comes The Future Is. Now, we do call it The Future Is. These asterisks down at the bottom are essentially evocative of like the security of a password. So the idea is you have to uncover what the future is in that particular story, and each one of them has a little what's called a CTF. We'll get into that in just a moment to tell you what those asterisks mean inside of that story. And our goal always was to say this is someone's first comic. This is actually a slide from a presentation that we gave to comic book retailers. Excuse the Brooklyn Sirens. Back at Comics Pro in March. And we said these were the claims that we made, and we absolutely backed them up. We will keep it in stock, and you'll get into how we got to that. We also had an incredible roster of cover artists that were continuing to grow. I cannot wait to show you the Paul Pope cover. It fucking rocks. Anyway, we did a whole bunch of marketing, including these posters and bundles of this guide to keeping cyber safe, essentially flyer that we sent out to the top 1,000 accounts. We also sent, well, we'll get into that in just a minute. And we did a bunch of tech-focused podcasts, a bunch of comics-focused podcasts. We got on every site we could think of. And we did a signing tour. Once again, we're going to get into that as well. Now, back to the CTFs. Each one of our books has what is called a Capture the Flag challenge. The Capture the Flag challenge is just a code. And in this particular instance, it's this string of numbers and punctuation that if you decode it, will tell you what the future is and give you access to this cumulative leaderboard where every time you crack one of these challenges, we give you that, give you points on that board. Every time you see a character inside of this title doing some sort of hack or some sort of workaround, we give you a link that allows you to do that hack and get points on the leaderboard. And many of these are done in a way that allow people who are very basic, just barely know how to use a computer to begin to understand how these things work, which is how you learn cybersecurity. So we present this at Comics Pro, and we get all of this amazing feedback. We get some really great write-ups. Bleeding Cool said it was the best presentation that he ever saw. I mean, we had an amazing turnout. And then we got the initial orders back, and it was 500 copies. Now, it should be noted that this is 500 copies of a first issue that was $13.37,
Right.
which in hacker speak spells out leet.
Leaked.
Right? Yes. So those 500 copies, that was not, honestly, that's about comparable to a trade paperback launch from an independent publisher, and which is really what this was. So here's what I want to take a moment to talk about the difference between ongoing promotion and what I'm calling the diminishing tail. Most, especially independent releases, and that includes most of Image Comics releases that are new titles, they all begin with this spike up front. Maybe an actual successful title is probably going to have somewhere in the neighborhood of 20 to 40,000 copies. And then we'll do what we call attrition, meaning it will drop off usually very rapidly after the first issue with a lot of different covers. And it will then trail off throughout the series. That's why there's so many miniseries instead of ongoings now. Because of that diminishing, we never see an increase. So therefore, at some point you have to cut it off. So you might as well have a miniseries where it just cuts off naturally. We, however, are doing something called ongoing promotion, meaning we only put one cover on each title. Well, maybe a little bit of shift in that, but we really only put the art of one cover on each title, and we really put a lot of effort into issue one, but not all of our effort. We're saving a lot of our promotional budget and a lot of our ideas, and a lot of the sort of promotions that we're going to have are going to come later on in the series because we have 60 issues to sell. This is a 5-year project. So we're holding some things in the tank for that. That led us to the FOC. So these are the actual numbers that we saw when we went to final order cutoff. 3,441 copies of a $13.37 issue. That is remarkable. inside of especially independent comics, that is definitely a success. 583 accounts, that's actually what you need in order to be successful in comics. You don't need the 4,000 stores out there. In fact, you're never going to get them. Your best bet is always 20%, right? The 80%, 80-20 rule means that 80% of your efforts are going to come from 20% of your accounts. So, Brian, feel free to interject. I can't see the screen right now, so if anytime you feel free, but otherwise I'm gonna keep going because I've got.
No, this makes me feel really good about my orders, because I think I ordered originally 10 copies, and then I added, I want to say 9 extras at the last minute. So,
and they've sold.
Yeah, I sold out. I sold out of my initial 10, and then I've pre-sold 3 copies of the extra 9, and I want to have this around for like 6 months to a year, right? Like, and I've done equal numbers of 2 and 3 now, so I want to have the same number of things around, because I know long term, like I said, like I'm making a tech play, and I think I'll sell this stuff forever.
Well, I think so. You talking about that leads me to 2 other pieces of data that are on the screen. So we look at the 2 averages of any given title, and you're going to see the median. You're going to see that repeat throughout this as we go. The mean is just an average. The thing that we think of when we think of an average number, you take the total number and you divide it by the entries, and you get the average. So in this case, 4.2 on initial order, 5.9 on final order cutoff. These, not surprising, those things go, but that's a really strong number. That means that, we had some increases, and the average store that ordered them is ordering about 6 copies. The median is, we took all 583 copies and we looked at number 290. 290 or 292 is the middle of that grouping, meaning that in the if you sort it, the 292nd copy was 3 copies, and I will say the majority of them are 3. The median, it is very common for publishers to have a median number like that. Usually, especially independent publishers, your median copy is often 1, right? So we had to create a print order based on this number. What do you print? And I will say that I have this old adage that I work with in printing. The cheapest decision to make when you're printing is when to turn the printer off. Meaning that the most expensive one is when to turn it on. The first copy costs tens of thousands of dollars. The second copy costs 50 cents, maybe $1 in the case, right? So you still have to do that math. Everything averages out in the end, and you're going to get a lot better. Your value gets a lot better as you print even further out, because those setup costs are averaged out. So here's what we decided to do. We created a first printing, $13.37. We printed 10,000 copies. And we did this because we knew we wanted to send 1 copy for free to the top 1,000 stores, so that they would all get it, whether they ordered it or not. Everybody would get a copy. Then we did what we called the 404 printing. Now, this would have been in a place that normally you would think of as a second printing, but we printed these at the same time, which is actually pretty common for second printings. And this one,
tell people that's a secret.
I know, I'm sorry. But we made it $4.04. The reason for this is, we had a few ideas, but basically we wanted to keep this thing in reserve. We knew we were going to need something. We knew we were going to need an idea, some way to get energy, especially 3 or 4 months in, and this is where we landed.
Right.
So,
plus, I mean, outside of this, and I hope this isn't. These guys are InfoSec people who are going to have a ton of people who don't go into comic shops,
correct,
who will eventually see this stuff too, right? So having extra copies means
exactly
conventions and things.
Right. We printed all of these knowing that they are, we're going to be promoting at their hacker fests and all of the other places that they go. We went on a tour and we gave away a lot of copies at hacking events, all of which is going to push people into stores because we're not selling issues 2, 3, and 4 in our web store. Those are only available in comic shops. So the whole point is to push people to comic shops. So that's why we had 20,000 copies, even though we only had orders for 3,000, right? 3,400. Right. So that leads us then, because we were keeping the window between issue 1 and issue 2 very close to encourage all these brand new buyers to go into comic shops, we had to have an FOC we had to place a print order for number 2 before we had an FOC. So we had to decide how many of these are we going to print. We already knew how many number 1 had sold, so we needed just to get enough to at least to cover that group. So we said 3,000 copies. We're going to see what 13% attrition. That's not uncommon. That feels pretty good. So we'll go ahead and commit to that right now. That was on May 7th. Then on May 14th through the 19th, the 5 of us here in this circle, we all got into a van and we drove literally across country. We started off in Baltimore and worked our way down, stopped at 5 different shops. We had signings of various sizes, including this one at Third Eye, where the line literally went out the door and outside. Mostly many people who were just comics fans who had heard about it, but there was a ton of cybersecurity professionals who showed up. Annapolis, Maryland has, let's just say, a really strong cybersecurity crew in that area because of Washington, D.C. So we signed a bunch of books. We had a hacker conference where we gave away books in Tampa, University of Florida. It was something called B-Sides. And then we did a concert. We actually had an original soundtrack, and we did a concert for after our last signing of that day. So it was an amazing event. I cannot recommend it enough.
Can I pull you off your script for a second? So issue 2, you FOC'd it, I think it was like 2 or 3 weeks ago.
Yeah.
Is that right?
5/27. That's what the slide. Yeah.
So that was it was originally supposed to come out, I think, that week or the week before, number 1.
Originally, let's see. I think, we're going to get into what happened with number 1. Okay. But yeah, it was originally supposed to be on 5/28, I believe. Yeah.
Okay.
5/28. That's right. Yeah. So this was right before that release day. We finally got our FOC numbers in for issue 2, and 2866 copies with 603 accounts. This is an increase in the number of accounts that are ordering, which says we're doing something right on the promotion. You rarely see this. Mm-hmm. Now, it's not uncommon to see a drop, but we rarely see a drop this low. We thought we were going to see a 13%. I think it's ended up being like 17%. I need to do that math. I didn't put it on this slide. But we saw a very small drop from issue 1 to issue 2, which is, while it was our plan, incredibly uncommon. So we had a problem in that we had 3,000 copies printed and almost 2,900 sold, which meant that we weren't going to have enough for our comps. We weren't going to have enough for overages and damages. We had to go back to print. So we announced the recompiled edition. This was our second printing. We rushed it to press, and we did this kind of really cheeky press release where it basically said, yeah, I know people usually say something sells out and they're going back to print. Really, they're just pulling these things out of the warehouse, which is what we were doing with issue 1. We were planning on it anyway. But we actually have to go back to print. So we're soliciting is going to be on sale with number 3. So we make this announcement. The next day, release day, issue 1, coming out into stores, gonna be a big deal, gonna be a celebration. We're gonna be doing this for a little while. And I get this text from a retailer.
The panic in your voice, I've never heard before when you said, hey, I need to talk to you real quick. Can you call me? And do you know if your lunar order is there yet? And I was like, lunar order's not there. I will call you.
Yeah. I should know that I'm playing a little fast and loose for the narrative on this timeline, but yes, this was a week before it was supposed to be in. There was a Canadian store that sent me this. I think you might be able to make out his name, make out his user image, but I won't say his name. Anyway, he said, "Is this a stunt? Because I spent a lot of money on this." Yeah. Anyway, I'm gonna try and go a little faster here. So then, issue 1 shipped. What we found out when dealing with Lunar was we did not know what people had received. They had randomly shipped the first issue with the 404 printing. Now, we knew that the top 1,000 were getting $13.37. We did not know if they were getting the second printing or not because it was randomly shipped. So we now had 2 different versions out, a $13.37 version and a $4.04 version. After a lot of debate, we put together this press release that we called Find the 404. We played this off as this was something intentional. We put both of these out into the market. Why did we do that? Why didn't we just come clean? I'll get into that in just a minute, but I want to talk about how we handled this. So we sent out the press release. We called our top 50 stores, almost got them all on the line to explain the real about what happened, and all of the stores that we posted on message boards, including one for the FOC group, which is a very common retailer space inside of Facebook. We basically said, "Hey, set up a time to have a conversation about this, and we'll give you the real." And we talked to a bunch of stores, including you, Brian, and we told about the real. So why not just come clean? Mistakes happen. In this particular instance, we because we did 2 different printings and it was not a second printing because we didn't know if we were going to be revealing it as a second printing, we had to play fast and loose with some of the metadata, which, Brian, I know that you're probably enjoying that part.
No, I'm not even going to say I told you so. I'm not going to say it.
But in this particular instance, we did do everything right. However, because it was outside of the standard operating procedure of the metadata, somebody flipped some UPCs, and mistakes happen. Sometimes somebody in either the printer or the distributor, we're not saying who, we know, but we're not saying who. Why? Because this person was an employee and they made a mistake. And
also, it's none of your business.
It's none of your business.
Like,
yeah, exactly.
Up, none of your business.
It was our business.
Yeah, exactly.
And because of the free books, so what we decided to do was that first week, whether you got the 404 version or you got the $13.37 version, we were comping the entire thing, meaning all of that inventory was now free.
Yep.
And because all 7 of the first issues are returnable, when you did get your actual order the week after, it was now returnable. So as a result of that, there really is nothing gained by the retailers and the industry at large knowing who made the mistake. No one got more because of that. Right. So we felt like we had made the generous offering. We wanted to make sure that we at least covered that mistake because of the metadata issue. Now, I should note that I'm making all these claims because I do believe that what we did was the best we had with the information that we were given, and I would still stand by it. However, Jason thinks we should have just come clean. He's not on this call, so I'll speak for him. So what do I know? He might be right. He might not. Anyway, at the end of the day, we did choose this, and we're now coming clean. Now, would we have come clean without this next thing? I don't know, because we had this. It seemed to be working. Most people just either didn't care or didn't notice. But then I got this text from Rich Johnson, the leader of Bleeding Cool, asking what the hell happened. And because he was going to try and find blame, we decided to put out the information that we had I'm giving it to you. And he wrote up a story saying that we seem to have fucked up our own launch today. And, maybe Jason's right. I still maintain this was some of the best promotion we would have gotten on a release day. I still say it was actually, in the end, it was a net positive. And I know this because we just got our first FOC with POS data after this promotion for issue 3. This is legitimately landed this morning. So the final order cutoff was well, actually we got this today. This data today. When was the cutoff? I guess it was last week.
Midnight last night.
Midnight last night. That's right.
For this one.
2,432 copies from 602 accounts. We lost 1 account. We had a mean average of 403 and the same median average, meaning everybody from the bottom down ordered exactly the same. We had a very slight shift in the above. Now, all of this to say, before we get into, actually, no, let's get into that. All of this to say, we had an incredibly successful launch. Now, these numbers are not huge, but this is what a successful comics launch for independent press looks like. It is because of this kind of thing that we are able to do this kind of work. So 3,400 as essentially an indie graphic novel, really successful launch. Very slight attrition from issues 2 to issue 3. Really successful. A 20% bump in the second printing on issue 2. Very successful. And you can see here that the distribution at the far end, these are the ones that went out with the free copies. This is the kind of coverage that we got. So you see that kind of thing from any independent launch. You're not going to get to that just anywhere. So there you go.
I got a couple quick questions for you. So this was the first 3 issues, I believe, were in the Kickstarter originally, right?
So there was the first issue, which was our hardcover in the first in the Kickstarter, and then issues 2 and 4 were in the Kickstarter as well.
Okay, cool. So people who've done the Kickstarter have never seen 3. Does everyone know that?
I don't think so. Yeah, I think no one has ever seen through issue 3.
So those of you who are on Lunar site right now may want to increase your order on number 3, just saying, because that's something that how many people got this on Kickstarter?
I want to say it was about 500. I should know the number off the top of my head, but yeah, it's actually in that presentation. If you
and there are people who actually know this brand and like the brand. And by the way, that Kickstarter was not only successful, but it was also one of the fastest fulfilled Kickstarters I've ever been part of. And it was spectacular. Like,
thank you.
Really, really well done from start to finish.
Deb Wigley says 476.
There you go. 400. So there's 476
you,
people out there who have never read the 3rd issue, which was on FOC last night. So
there you go.
Just saying, you may want to consider that. Yeah. So folks that I was just taking a look at a couple of the comments here.
Yeah.
Christina Strong said, I have family in cybersecurity who are very interested in it. They don't read comics.
Should be noted there are about 5.5 million cybersecurity professionals in the world right now, and they have an average median income of $120,000.
Yeah. So. Yeah. And they're the ones that are making all the money right now.
Exactly.
Django also said, returnable from someone we like with long tail potential for people who don't come into our shop all the time. Easy decision.
Thank you, buddy.
There were some of us who got them after Comics Pro, after seeing it.
Yep.
So yeah, it's I think it's a great story, amazing success story. I'm totally excited to see where it goes from here. I was so big on it right from the beginning that I sponsored an ad at Comics Pro. There was a Bink. It was for Bink, right? Yeah. Auction, the charity auction. Got into a bidding war with someone that I regretted immediately because it cost me $1.40 for every dollar, but that's fine. So you'll see this in the ad. Cute little subscribotrons. There he is. If you were to QR code that and submit that, I'm just saying Craig may have to draw pictures. So I'll just leave that on there for a couple seconds because he's hand drawing every single subscribotron request that he gets.
That's really
hand drawing it. So
there's a little CTF at the bottom, and you caused a little disruption in our Discord.
Did it?
Oh yeah.
That's awesome.
I get points for this?
That's awesome. Yeah. So I just did a little, very simple cipher here that if people figure it out and they email me, I'll make Craig draw another subscriber. Yeah.
Anyway, this has been fun, and I will tell you, this is a little nerve wracking. I've been at this business now for what, 30 years. I have never done this sort of reveal, this sort of data reveal. So I'm really curious to see how people respond. And as independent publishers, as retailers, and just as aficionados of the comics industry, if you are getting anything out of this, let us know, because I am willing to do this again as we go along. I'm willing to come back and fill in some of the gaps that I'm sure will open up. But our goal here is to not only create community, not only create comics for comics fans, and bring cybersecurity and folks into your shops and create new lifelong fans there, but it's really also to kind of bring everyone up along with us. So if you are getting anything out of this, please say so in the comments, because we do read the comments afterwards. They're going to be live from now on, and I'm really thrilled to hear if you got anything from our little reveal here. So
yeah, absolutely. That was super fun. I love seeing those numbers. I like finding out that I'm a bigger fish than I think I am. With my imposter syndrome on full display, sometimes
you saw the opportunity and you're exploiting it, and I love that about you. Go for it.
100%. And it fits to the market that I play to, and even my friends and stuff are all in that kind of field. So yeah, it was
wonderful.
Great.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Well, we're actually over time. Is there anything else we didn't cover?
No, the wheels didn't even fall off.
I don't know, buddy.
I thought it was pretty solid.
I'm always our harshest critic. I don't know what to tell you. But yeah, listen, thank you all. Thank you all for tuning in. Thank you all for, especially those of you who commented. Thanks to Brian. Thank you to Rekka. I want to say just a moment, Deb, I know that you're watching. Jason, I'm sure you're going to be watching this later. Joe Keating, who is our editor, Megan, who is also commenting right this second, who is doing an amazing job on this project. I will say thank you to them, because this kind of reveal is not a small thing, and they really genuinely comes from a place of generosity. So I want to say thank you. And to you, Brian. Thanks, buddy.
Hey, glad to be here. Glad to be here.
Awesome. Well, let's close this out. What do you say?
That sounds good to me. All right. Thank you, everyone. And as Adam always says,
namaste, y'all.